Hi, I'm just shooting this video to show you how to connect a CC3D via an Arduino Nano and its serial interface in order to upload the INav hex so that you can run INav on your CC3D. These are the things that you're going to need. You're going to need your power in the form of a USB mini jack, your CC3D. In this case I have the large one, but it should be more or less the same for the nano version of it. You just need to find the bootloader pins, which in this case are just here, where my right thumb is. And you'll need your Arduino Nano. I'll insert a pin out here, diagram here, but basically you just need to connect the two ground and reset pins here. I've soldered them together, but you can use jumper leads if you like. The ground and the 5 volt source voltage needs to go to your main port connector here, and then you need to connect the RX and TX to the TX and RX on the CC3D. Right, as you can see here, I've powered up my Arduino Nano. You need to power this up first, otherwise the serial transfer won't work. Then what you need to do is put your CC3D into bootloader mode. Okay. So my favorite tool for doing this is a razor blade. One, because the sharp edge allows it to cut into the pads and connect them cleanly. If you're not comfortable using a razor blade, you can also use a screwdriver or a piece of wire, but I find the razor blade works quite well. So what you need to do is you find your bootloader pins that I showed you before, which in this case are just here. Alright, and you need to cross them. This is the tricky part though. You then have to take your connector here and you need to plug it in, making sure it's the right way up, to the main port. Okay, as you can see, we have no blue lights, just a solid orange light. And that means we have successfully entered bootloader mode. Alright. Now that we've done that, you can set that aside. I would make sure that you go ahead and download the Arduino software to make sure you have the correct drivers for doing the flashing, and also download the hex file from the GitHub page that I will have linked in the description. I'll also have the link for the Arduino installer in the description of this video as well. Okay, so we have our CC3D here, our Arduino Nano and our computer. And what I'm going to do is go through quickly the order that you need to connect this up. I did go through it briefly just before, but we'll go through it again just for the sake of setting up here. I'm going to connect first off my Arduino Nano to my computer. So I'm just plugging it into the USB port here, and you'll see as I do that that the light comes on. Okay, so now that the light's on, we're ready to connect up the CC3D. So to do that, as I demonstrated before, bridge the two jumper bootloader pins here and plug in your CC3D to the main UART port. And if you do it right, you'll see that you get the single orange light like I said before. Okay, so we're in bootloader mode. Before we go ahead and flash, I just wanted to make sure, because I've had a few questions in the past about which port you use for flashing. You do actually use the main port here, main serial port on the side of the CC3D, and it's wired up in this fashion. As you can see here, I have put a diagram up earlier, so go ahead and skip back to that and have a look if you have come in at this part of the video. Go back and have a look at that diagram and that'll show you how to wire it up. Okay, so now that we have the CC3D in bootloader mode, okay, we can go ahead and look at the computer and we will open up INav. Alright, so with INav open here, and bring it up full screen, you need to open the firmware flasher. Now, with the firmware flasher, you need to not select anything here. These are all set up fine by default, so no reboot sequence, full chip erase, and a manual baud rate of 1150-200. You then click load firmware. You have to go ahead and find your INav firmware. I've got mine here, INav 1.7.3. This is a good time to mention as well that if you're using the CC3D, it is actually a discontinued product. I think as of the last update to 1.8. But 1.73 seems to have most of the features that you would want in your INav device. So at the moment, as of November 2017, it is fine for you to go ahead and use, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and use today. But if you're watching this down the track in the future, you might want to consider what the features are of INav now and whether 1.7.3 is good enough for you, because there's unlikely to be an update. Anyway, we'll go ahead and select that firmware. Alright, and you'll see down here that the flash firmware button is now activated. You can see I've got the COM port set here. Now, it's listed 3 COM ports here. I don't know which one my CC3D is on. So to find that out, what I do is I come down and right click on the start button if you're using Windows 8, 8.1 or 10, and hit Device Manager. That then opens up the Device Manager, open up your COM and LPT ports, and the one you're looking for is this one here, USB serial CH340, and the COM port is COM5. So that gives me the port that I need. So I change this over to COM5, and then I'm ready to start flashing. I hit flash, and as you can see, it is proceeding nicely, and we're about to flash INav into our CC3D. Once it's complete, it's going to reboot the board, and you will see the blue flashing light again. We'll just wait for that to finish. Okay, so that's going ahead now. Nearly there. And the flash is complete, and you can see that the board is rebooted. Now, one of the common traps for people that are trying to do this job is getting the serial ports around the wrong way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you what happens so that you can identify that problem should you come across it in the future. So what I'm going to do is do this process all again quickly. Unplug from the computer, unplug from the serial port, and close INav. Alright, so what you need to do in order to get this set up again is plug in your Arduino Nano. Arduino Nano is now plugged in. You need to enter Bootloader Mode. First off, I'll change these pins around to give you a demo of what the error looks like. Okay, so that is now changed around. Alright, so now you enter bootloader mode in the same manner that I showed you just before. Bridge the things, the connectors, and plug in your CC3D. Yep, successfully entered bootloader mode again. Alright, now we go ahead and we browse back to Chrome apps and open up INav. Alright, and when we come to the firmware flasher, we select COM5 again, we load our firmware like we did before. You should now see when I hit flash, it's contacting the bootloader and you get no response, programming failed. Alright, so what I like to do in order to mitigate this is obviously you switch those cables over, but what I also do is start again from the beginning. So unplug everything, then start doing the order, plugging in your Arduino Nano, connecting it to your CC3D, with the bootloader pins crossed to enter bootloader mode, and then you can go ahead and open INav, and doing it in that order, it should work and you should be able to flash INav without too much of a problem. As I mentioned, if you have any questions, whack them in the comments, and I would be happy to answer them. Thank you for watching.